On a quiet street in Bentonville, Arkansas, there is a house you could drive past without ever slowing down. It sits low to the ground, a long, simple ranch tucked behind a row of mature trees, with a plain driveway, a small front walk, and a porch light that glows softly when the sun begins to fade. There are no iron gates at the entrance, no marble lions, no broad staircase sweeping up to towering columns. From the sidewalk, it looks like the kind of home any hard-working family might live in. The kind of place where kids race their bikes in the yard and neighbors stop to talk by the mailbox. Yet this unassuming house once belonged to a man whose name reshaped the way an entire nation shops. While blue Walmart signs rose along highways across America, while distribution centers spread like a network of veins carrying goods to every corner of the country, while millions of people pushed carts beneath fluorescent lights and low-price banners, Sam Walton came back here, to a house of timber, stone, and quiet. Inside corporate offices, his signature appeared on billion-dollar decisions. In the wider world, his face was tied to a retail empire so massive that its logo became as common as streetlights. But here in Bentonville, his home did not look anything like the images people imagine when they think of a billionaire. No fleet of luxury cars lined the drive. No glittering chandelier could be seen through the front windows. Just warm wooden walls, modest furniture, and the soft outline of a life built on routine rather than spectacle. It is this contrast that makes the Walton house so fascinating. How did one of the richest men in America choose to live in a house that blends almost perfectly into its quiet neighborhood? Why did the man behind one of the largest fortunes in history return each night to a place that could pass for anyone's family home? To understand the answer, you have to step back from the driveway. Look past the porch light and trace the story all the way back to a boy who knew exactly what it meant to have very little. Sam Walton's story does not begin with boardrooms, business plans, or the glow of a retail empire. It begins in the dusty stretches of early 20th century Oklahoma, in a small town called Kingfisher, where earning a single dollar required grit, patience, and a steady kind of hope. Born in 1918, Sam spent his early years watching his parents navigate a world where nothing came easily. The Great Depression hit families like his with full force, shaping the rhythm of daily life. His father moved the family from town to town, chasing steady work, hauling them across worn roads in search of opportunity. For Sam, these moves were more than relocations. They were lessons. Every new house was temporary. Every new school required him to adapt quickly. Every neighbor taught him something different about survival, kindness, or the small ways people try to make their lives better. Those early struggles planted a seed that would define him forever. From a young age, Sam learned that money was never guaranteed. He milked cows before dawn, delivered newspapers in rain and snow, and took on any job he could to help his family get by. Nothing was handed to him, and that reality shaped his sense of purpose. While other children dreamed of adventure or luxury, Sam became fascinated by the simple, powerful mechanics of everyday trade. He watched how small stores operated, observed how clerks greeted customers, and noticed how a well-placed product or a friendly comment could change a person's entire shopping experience. These observations were not idle curiosities. They were building blocks. Even as a boy, Sam understood that a store was more than shelves and products. It was a relationship between the business and the community. He saw how smiles mattered, how fair prices kept families afloat, and how trust could turn a one-time shopper into a loyal customer. This fascination with retail was not born from ambition. It came from empathy. He knew what it felt like to count pennies. He knew the weight of responsibility families carried. And he believed that if he ever ran a store, he would do it differently. By the time Sam reached adulthood, the childhood seed had already grown into a clear purpose. He wanted to build a place where people felt welcome, where money stretched further, and where every customer walked out with dignity. That purpose, shaped in the hard soil of Oklahoma, would soon define the rest of his life. By the time Sam Walton returned home from serving in World War II, the childhood lessons he carried had grown into something much larger than ambition. They had become a driving force, a quiet but persistent belief that he could change the way ordinary people shopped. Stepping back into civilian life, Sam wasn't searching for prestige or a corporate office. He wanted something simple and personal, something that reflected the values carved into him during those hard early years. That clarity is what led him to open his first small variety store in Newport, Arkansas in 1945. For Sam, owning a store wasn't just a career choice. It was a mission. He wanted customers to feel seen, valued, and respected. He believed deeply that everyday families deserved fair prices, honest service, and a shopping experience that didn't leave them worrying about the rest of the month's bills. He wanted to remove the barriers that made life harder for working people because he had lived those struggles himself. Every morning, Sam opened the doors of his five and dime with the same intention. He wanted to make life a little easier for the people who walked in. He made a habit of greeting customers by name, learning their routines, and paying attention to what mattered most to them. If a mother needed cheaper school supplies or a farmer needed dependable tools, Sam found a way to stock them. If he noticed that people hesitated at a price tag, he studied suppliers until he figured out how to bring that price down. His motivation wasn't rooted in profit. It was rooted in service. This approach fueled him with an energy that set him apart. While other store owners closed for the night, Sam stayed awake reviewing numbers, experimenting with displays and brainstorming ways to keep costs lower. While competitors held firm to tradition, he dared to innovate. Every improvement he made came from one simple question: how can I make this better for the customer? Over time, that question became his compass. It guided every decision he made and every risk he took. And it was this unwavering motivation, shaped by humility and driven by empathy, that laid the foundation for a retail revolution no one saw coming. Sam Walton's journey into the retail world may have begun with optimism and clarity, but the path forward was far from smooth. His first five and dime store in Newport grew quickly, gaining loyal customers who appreciated the low prices and warm atmosphere he created. Families returned week after week, children rushed to the candy counter with coins in hand, and locals praised the store's friendly spirit. Yet beneath the surface of these early successes, Sam found himself facing challenges that would test both his determination and his belief in what retail could become. One of the most defining moments came when Sam realized that the building he had rented for his first store included a lease agreement that allowed the landlord to reclaim the space once Sam's hard work had transformed it into a thriving business. When the lease expired, the landlord refused to renew it and took possession of the store exactly as Sam had built it. All of Sam's improvements, all the customer goodwill, and all the momentum he had worked tirelessly to create were taken out of his hands in a single stroke. It was a blow that could have ended his career before it truly began. The loss of his first successful store devastated him. He had poured every ounce of energy and imagination into building something meaningful, only to watch it disappear because of fine print. Sam later described this moment as one of the hardest lessons of his life, a moment when frustration, disappointment, and fear all collided. But rather than quitting, he used this setback as fuel. This failure pushed him to think more strategically, to build smarter, and to expand with a level of caution and creativity that would ultimately shape Walmart's future. Soon after leaving Newport, Sam found a new opportunity in Bentonville, a small town that lacked the retail options he believed families deserved. Standing inside an empty storefront on the town square, he felt that familiar spark return. He saw a possibility where others saw nothing but dusty shelves and slow foot traffic. When he opened Walton's 5 and 10, he approached it with a renewed sense of purpose. Every setback now became a lesson. Every customer interaction became a chance to improve. And every challenge reinforced his belief that ordinary people deserved extraordinary value. These emotional turning points, from heartbreak to determination, shaped Sam into a retailer who understood not just how stores worked but how people felt. And those feelings would guide him toward building something far greater than a small variety shop. When Sam and Helen Walton decided to build their family home in Bentonville in the late 1950s, they did not set out to create a symbol of wealth or power. They wanted a place that reflected who they were at their core, a family shaped by simplicity, practicality, and a deep respect for nature. From the moment they walked the forested lot on the east side of town, Helen felt an instant connection to the land. The tall trees created pockets of shade that danced in the wind. A small stream traced a bright path through the property, and the quietness made the space feel untouched by time. It was here, far from noise and grandeur, that she envisioned the heartbeat of their family's future. Helen knew the home needed to feel warm, grounded, and honest. To bring that vision to life, she and Sam hired a young architect named E. Fay Jones, a rising talent who had studied under Frank Lloyd Wright. Jones believed architecture should blend with its surroundings rather than dominate them. His style valued natural materials, clean lines, and harmony between a structure and the land it rested upon. When he walked the property, he immediately saw what Helen saw, a chance to create a home that felt like an extension of the forest itself. Working closely with Helen, Jones designed a modest ranch-style home using local stone, warm wood, and simple geometry. Sunlight would enter through large glass panels, bouncing gently off stone floors and wooden walls. The house would not shout for attention. Instead, it would invite people in with quiet beauty. As construction began, Jones enhanced the natural stream by shaping a gentle waterfall and carving a reflecting pond that mirrored the trees above. Water, light, and wood became the home's defining elements, each chosen to honor the land. Inside, rooms were planned with purpose rather than display. The living room featured broad windows that framed the forest like artwork. The hearth room was tucked just off to the side, lit softly by a second fireplace. Bedrooms were simple and filled with natural light, spaces designed for comfort rather than showmanship. Every corner of the house felt intentional, humble, and connected to everyday life. While Jones crafted the home's structure, Helen shaped its soul. She selected furniture that felt sturdy and welcoming. She filled the house with flowers from the garden, woven rugs, and soft colors that made even guests feel instantly at ease. Sam, for his part, admired the steady progress, often remarking that the house felt like a retreat without needing to be extravagant. In these early cinematic scenes, the Bentonville house became more than a building. It became the quiet stage where the Walton family's story would unfold, a living reflection of the values that defined them. The story of the Bentonville house cannot be told without understanding the two people who shaped it alongside Sam Walton. One was his partner in life, Helen Walton, whose quiet strength and artistic vision guided nearly every decision made about the home. The other was architect E. Fay Jones, a thoughtful designer whose deep respect for nature and architecture as a lived experience turned the Waltons' modest dreams into a masterful expression of simplicity and purpose. Together, Helen and Jones became the emotional and creative anchors that gave the house its character, transforming it from a simple ranch into a living portrait of the Walton family's values. Helen was raised with a profound appreciation for education, culture, and community. While Sam's world revolved around retail innovation and the countless details that kept his growing business running, Helen offered a grounding presence. Her influence balanced practicality with warmth, shaping the environment in which their children would grow and in which their values would take root. She believed deeply in creating a home that felt alive, with spaces meant to be used rather than admired from afar. From the moment she walked the wooded lot east of Bentonville, she imagined a place where the family could be close to nature and close to one another. She pictured a home filled with natural light, laughter, and the gentle sounds of the forest drifting through open windows. She did not want extravagance. She wanted authenticity. When Helen met Fay Jones, she immediately sensed a kindred spirit. Jones was not the type of architect who imposed his vision on a family. Instead, he listened. He asked questions. He paid attention to how the land felt beneath his feet and how the light shifted throughout the day. His approach was almost poetic. He believed a house should grow from the land, not sit on top of it. He believed architecture should serve the life inside it, not overshadow it. Under his guidance, the Walton home began to take shape as something both practical and deeply connected to nature. Jones designed the home using materials native to Arkansas, reinforcing the idea that beauty did not require richness, only intention. He chose stone that blended seamlessly with the forest floor and wood that brought warmth to every room. His use of glass allowed the boundary between inside and outside to dissolve, making the trees feel like companions rather than scenery. He shaped the stream into a soft, cascading waterfall and added a reflecting pond that captured sunsets in pools of gold and amber. These choices were not luxury features. They were acts of love for the land and for the family who would live there. Helen worked closely with Jones in every phase. She selected furnishings that were comfortable rather than glamorous, built around family life rather than status. She filled the home with carefully chosen decor pieces that told stories rather than displayed wealth. She wanted the children to feel grounded, not impressed. She wanted guests to feel welcomed, not intimidated. And she wanted Sam to have a peaceful retreat from the intensity of his growing responsibilities. Jones respected Helen's intuition. He regarded her not just as a client, but as a creative collaborator. Their partnership became one of the reasons the home felt so deeply personal. At a time when many wealthy families pursued grandeur, Helen and Jones pursued intention. Every detail had meaning, and every room reflected their shared belief that the home should be a sanctuary, not a spectacle. In the evenings when Sam returned from long days at the store, he often walked through the house slowly, taking in the quiet beauty shaped by the two people who understood him best. The forest outside, the soft glow of interior lights, the smell of dinner in the kitchen, and the laughter of children created a sense of belonging he cherished more than any measure of wealth. In this chapter of his life, Helen became the emotional architect of the family, and Jones the structural architect of their home. Together, they built more than a house. They built the foundation of the Walton legacy, a place where values were strengthened, children grew into leaders, and the meaning of simplicity became the heartbeat of a future empire. As Walmart began its extraordinary rise through the 1960s and 70s, the Bentonville house quietly became the backdrop to the most transformative years of Sam Walton's life. While stores multiplied across small towns and Sam's reputation as an innovative retailer spread rapidly, the humble ranch home stood steady, unchanged in spirit. It was in this contrast between explosive business growth and steadfast, domestic simplicity that the Walton family reached their golden peak. A period marked by accomplishment, togetherness, and the strengthening of the values that defined them. Inside the home, ordinary routines persisted even as Sam's days grew more demanding. Each morning he rose early, often before sunrise, slipping into his truck to visit stores while most of Bentonville still slept. Yet no matter how far he traveled or how late he worked, returning to the house felt like stepping into another world. The soft light filtered through the tall windows. The smell of dinner drifted from the kitchen, and laughter from one of the children's rooms brought him back to the heart of what truly mattered. Helen played an enormous role in maintaining this equilibrium. She nurtured the home with quiet dedication, ensuring it remained a peaceful refuge despite the growing weight of Sam's responsibilities. She encouraged curiosity in their children, filled the home with books and art, and hosted gatherings that brought neighbors and friends together. Even as the Walton name gained prominence, the house stayed a place where small joys were celebrated. Whether it was a family board game, a birthday dinner, or a simple walk in the backyard beneath the tall Arkansas trees, outside the walls of the home, Walmart was entering its golden age. New stores opened at astonishing speed. Innovations in distribution and pricing changed the way Americans shopped. Sam's belief in low prices and high respect for customers resonated across communities, turning Walmart into a national force. Yet despite this meteoric success, he carried the same frugal habits he learned in childhood. He still drove older vehicles, wore simple clothes, and avoided unnecessary luxuries. His life at home reflected this mindset perfectly. During this high point, the Walton children thrived. Each of them found their place within the family and the community, shaped by the environment of warmth and humility Helen had cultivated. Their bedrooms, decorated with personal treasures rather than expensive decor, became the spaces where dreams took shape and where the lessons Sam and Helen lived by were quietly absorbed in these years. The Bentonville house became more than shelter. It was the emotional center of the Walton story, a place where success never overshadowed family, where the world's growing demands ended at the front door, and where the foundations of an enduring legacy were built with intention, love, and unwavering simplicity. Asterisk as the Walton family moved through their golden years, the Bentonville home remained a symbol of stability. But life has a way of introducing cracks even into the strongest foundations. The most dramatic fracture came in the early morning hours of April 1972 when lightning struck the house, igniting a fire that spread rapidly through the structure. Within minutes, the warm rooms that had held decades of memories were engulfed. The stone walls glowed with heat, treasured belongings were lost, and by the time firefighters controlled the flames, much of the home had been reduced to charred remains. Sam and Helen escaped safely, but the emotional blow was heavy. The house had been more than timber and stone. It had been the vessel of their family history, the silent witness to laughter, struggle, and growth. For Sam, the destruction of the home came during a time when Walmart itself was expanding faster than ever, adding a layer of personal vulnerability to his professional pressure. For Helen, the loss carried a different weight. She had shaped the home with intention, curated its warmth, and poured herself into creating a refuge for her family. Yet, even in grief, she was resolute. She contacted architect E. Fay Jones and asked him to rebuild. She was determined not to replace the past, but to honor it by creating a space that acknowledged loss while embracing the next chapter. The new home, constructed with sturdier materials and thoughtful updates, symbolized resilience. It reflected the ways families evolve, the ways dreams are rebuilt, and the ways life continues even after profound setbacks. Sam, despite his frugal nature, accepted the changes Helen insisted on, including central air conditioning, which he had long resisted. Through the process of rebuilding, the Walton home transformed into a physical representation of endurance. Grounded in the same values that had always defined the family. As Sam aged and eventually passed away in 1992, the house took on new meaning. It became a window into the life of a man whose business reshaped American retail, yet whose personal life remained rooted in humility. Visitors who saw the home were often startled by its simplicity. They expected grandeur from a billionaire but found instead warm wooden floors, quiet rooms, and a landscape that whispered rather than shouted. Today, the Walton home stands as a reminder that success does not need spectacle. It teaches that legacy is measured not by the size of a house, but by the principles lived within it. Sam Walton's story, framed by this modest home, leaves us with a question that invites reflection. In a world obsessed with wealth and display, is a life of quiet purpose the truest path to lasting impact?